Hey there, I'm Grace.
And I'm Amelia.
And welcome to the Women Invest in Real Estate podcast, where we talk about getting started in real estate, scaling, and we give you the inside scoop about our day-to-days as full-time investors. We are so excited to host 2 free 60-minute trainings on how to get started in real estate investing with a full-time job. You can attend on either Monday, September 26th at 7 p.m. Central or Thursday, September 29th at 1 p.m. Central. In this training, we will cover the 6 different types of real estate investing so that you can figure out which one is the right fit for you, the 4 biggest mistakes new real estate investors make, the 3 most important factors when analyzing any real estate deal, and 3 ways to rent your property. Head to womeninvestinrealestate.com/training to sign up, and we'll see you then. Welcome back to episode 11 of Women Invest in Real Estate. Today, we're going to go over our very first rentals that either of us ever did, basically how we found it and how we managed it, and if we still have it. So, Amelia, do you want to get started?
I will. So my very first ever rental property was a triplex in a small town, my hometown, actually, with a population of about 5,000. So it has 3 units, 2 bed, 1 bath on the bottom floor, and 2 1 bed, 1 baths on the top floor. I found this property on the market on Zillow, actually. And it's so funny because I normally had like my filters really narrowed down on Zillow when I was looking at the time. And I don't think that I had the multifamily filter checked, which is so strange because now all I want to buy is multifamily.
Right.
But
nothing ever pops up.
I know, but just on that day, like I had like reset my filters or something, and I saw this triplex and I was like, oh my gosh, this could be my chance to like buy a rental property. And it was listed for $99,000, which is probably insane to people listening on the coasts or in high cost of living areas.
Well, even me, 2 hours away, 3 hours away, I'm like, that's still insane.
Yeah. So I scheduled a time to view it, walked through it, and there were some pretty awful tenants in there, actually. So I wrote a love letter basically to the current owner and said, this is my hometown, like I'm really excited to buy my first rental and be able to provide quality housing to the residents of this town, yada yada. And I think I submitted an offer of like $65,000 and it was listed for $99,000. So it was a significant price cut.
Do you know how long it had been listed?
Actually, not very long, like maybe a couple of days.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So it was super like, I don't meant to be almost or something. So, and again, this was in October of 2020, and it was my first ever rental. And I purchased it by myself. Like, I don't have any partners on this deal. We ended up settling on a purchase price of $78,000. And I purchased it all cash because the appraisal was taking forever at the time to come back. So I purchased it all cash with the intent of refinancing into a mortgage right when the appraisal could be done. So my bank was aware of this right away. Yeah. And I've said this before, but this actually turned out to be such a huge blessing in disguise because I was able to make some decent repairs to the property right after I purchased it before the appraiser came out. So it looked very nice when he came, and it appraised for $92,000.
Was it empty? Were there any inherited tenants?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I wrote the offer contingent that the property was empty.
Oh.
Yeah, because I didn't want the tenants that were in there.
And how long was it? How long the closing was it? It had to have been more than 30 days then?
It was like 45 days.
Okay.
And one of the tenants was like already kind of planning to move out. Like, I think that the current owner had told them like, I'm selling it, you're going to have to be moving out. So they were already kind of planning to be out. But yeah, so and this was so scary. Like, I want to mention that too, because
I was just going to say, the fact that you got a triplex for your first rental, like, did that not scare the shit out of you?
It did, I guess, but I was just so excited to like kind of get started. And like, I am a numbers nerd. And so I had run the numbers like multiple times, conservatively, moderate, and there was like no way I wasn't going to be able to make money on this property. Plus I still had a W-2 at the time. So like, even if worst case scenario, it sat empty for forever, if the mortgage on it is like $350 or something, like it's nothing.
Crazy.
So it was like, and that's another thing. I'm completely debt free outside of like my business debt now. And at the time I was completely debt free. So a paid off car, no student loans. Like I had really made sure I was in a good position personally before I purchased a rental. So like I like was nervous about it, but at the same time I was like, I can afford this mortgage. So
Right.
it ended up appraising for $92,000. So I took out 80% of that, which ended up being great. Was like an inadvertent burr. It wasn't a perfect burr because I put like 10 to 12,000 into rehab. So I was all in at like, I can't 90. So I got a decent amount back, and I think I left like 8 to 10,000 in the deal, which is, was great for my first ever rental. It cash flows now, I have to say, probably around 800 to 900 a month, depending on if it's snow season or not, because snow removal cuts into my bottom line. But and I think my cash on cash was like 70%. So at this point, I've made back all of my money. I'm almost at the 2-year mark for owning this. So everything after, this point is basically gravy and is money in my pocket. So, and I do still own it. I don't know that I will honestly ever sell that, because it's on a 30-year mortgage, a 30-year fixed mortgage, which was crazy. I wish my commercial lender was still offering that. So I don't know that I'll ever even refinance that or sell it, because it's just like a cash cow.
Yeah. So when you were looking, because your first deal ever was a flip, right?
Yes. So this was my first rental. My first ever go at real estate was a flip.
So when you did your flip, I'm guessing you're like, okay, I'm looking for a rental. What was your actual deal criteria, or what some people will call like your buy box? Because you mentioned that like you weren't really looking for multifamily, but like how did you decide that you wanted to go for it?
So my buy box at the time was not specific to a type of property. So what I mean by that is single family or multifamily. It was more of my cash flow and cash on cash return. Got it. So I was looking for something, it's hard to remember, honestly, but I think I was probably looking for something that was going to cash flow $300 a month and the cash on cash higher than 20%. So I was looking for decent numbers in that sense. And then I found this home run of a deal. Now my buy box is a lot tighter. But at the time, your very first property, I'm a trial and error type of person. So I didn't have all my shit together before I bought the first property. I didn't do what all the gurus say and have all these, I didn't have my whole team built and all that. But like, I knew I was good at running the numbers. And so I felt confident in my decision to buy a property.
Yeah. And look how it turned out.
I know. It's my favorite. I love that little triplex.
Yeah. And
okay,
how long?
Go ahead.
Last question. How long did it take you to rehab it?
2 weeks, because, and if you've been following me for a while, you've probably heard this, but I already had tenants lined up to move in.
This is the most Amelia thing that is about to come out of her mouth.
It was right. I already had tenants set to move in. I closed October 15th and I had tenants lined up to move in November 1st. I posted the property without any interior photos and it was booked. Like it was full because there's just such a need for housing in this town. But so I took a week off of my full-time job vacation because this was during the middle of COVID. So no, I didn't have anything better to do really. And I just worked on it for a week straight, all new paint, all new flooring, a new vanity, like some little cosmetic stuff. But yeah, it was really stressful. I would not recommend that, but
recommend pre-booking an entire triplex with 2 weeks to go. No,
but I'm very money. What is that word? I'm very money, not oriented, but driven, like money motivated. So I did not want that property sitting vacant for 1 second, 1 second longer than I needed to.
That's so funny. Yeah, I've followed in your footsteps and done that with a few midterm rentals where we're working up to the last second. And it's hard to since then I've done it too many times. I'm like, okay, I can't do that to myself. So I try to give myself an extra week or two, and it always ends up taking as long as you give yourself. Absolutely. So either way, you probably would have taken the work off.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I like the thrill of it. It makes me actually get stuff done and not procrastinate.
You're sprinting to and from the car, getting supplies, painting as fast as you can.
Oh my gosh. I remember ripping the carpet out that was in there by myself. I was over there all alone and just the next day covered in flea bites because the previous tenants, I know, I'm like, man, why am I so itchy? And then I figured out, oh my God, it's definitely fleas. Like the old tenants were not great, like I mentioned. So
Oof.
that was fun. I definitely emptied a few dumpsters full of stuff, but yeah. Okay, Grace, what about your first ever rental?
Yeah, so my first ever rental I bought with my boyfriend. We looked for probably a few weeks. I saw a for rent sign. I called it, pretended I was an investor. Keep in mind, right? I'm not even the one.
Classic.
I'm not even the one running the numbers. Brant's the one running the numbers because I don't know shit. And I get him to send me a list of 30 properties that he had. And he was like trying to sell them down to like 8 or something. I said, show me your grossest property. And this is hilarious. I remember he said, well, they're all pretty good, but this would probably be the grossest. Okay, it was a gut. It was disgusting. So, but I should probably back up like what our deal criteria / buy box was. We knew we needed to BRRRR because we had the money to do a down payment on it and fix it up. We did not buy it cash. We used like a 20% down loan and then used money for the cash. We knew we needed to keep that moving, so it had to be a BRRRR. So we had that in our buy box. We knew it was going to be single family. We knew it was going to be in the main town that I live near. What else? So then, of course, it couldn't be inhabited because we needed to start work right away and we were going to DIY it. So that was kind of our buy box. We find this house. It is disgusting. We literally walk through it. We smell ourselves like pee after it because it smelled that bad. We think they had let animals live in the basement for like probably years without leaving the basement, which is really, really sad. And come to find out, the neighbors told us that there was like 15 people living at this place and their backyard was straight trash bags and they would like bring trailers full of trash home and like dig through it. I don't know what for. This property had everything that's disgusting except for smoke. No smoke, which is nice, but didn't really matter because we gutted it anyways. But it had signs of past cockroaches, termite damage, disgusting pet smells. It needed like everything except for we did not side the property and we did not re-roof the property. Nice. So we bought it with 20% down bank loan, and we actually told our bank like, hey, we're gonna refi this ASAP. So they put us on a construction loan where we only had to pay quarterly interest on it until we basically finalized into that second loan based off the ARV. We thought it was going to take us 3 months and I think $23,000 to DIY this full gut. It's also like 1,600 square foot house, right? Took us 6 months and I think it was like 35 or 36K, which was a bit stressful. And we were so glad to be done with it. I learned so much. We really had no idea. My boyfriend knew what was going on. He had flipped a house and like worked for an investor before. I did not know what was going on. But I got in there every day.
You learned so much.
Yeah, best part about this property is we made a schedule with like a month to go, right? We're finally like, we should have a schedule. I put paint the house. It's 3 stories, main floor, upstairs and downstairs. Everything needed painting, ceiling, trim, new drywall, baseboard, like literally windowsills, everything. I thought I would do that in a weekend. 3 days I had on the schedule. It took me a month.
Okay, you've said that to me before, and I just thought like walls and stuff.
No.
Oh my,
everything.
A weekend?
3 days, I thought. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh,
it took me a month, maybe 3 weeks. It took me so long. Steps, stairs, door trim, doors, windowsills. Like, there's a huge difference between painting the walls and painting everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Huge.
So that's hilarious.
So it took you a month and a carpal tunnel to get
literally
all that
think
done.
I think I messed up my hands bad from that. They hurt for like a month after.
Yeah.
I just painted for like 8 hours, probably not 8 hours, but I painted for hours every day for like 3 to 4 weeks. Anyways, we got it done. It got appraised. We had bought it for, I think, 82.5, put 36 into it. So we were all in for like 120 some or a little under that. It appraised for 185. We pulled out 70% equity, I believe. So we walked away with like $8,000 extra to use on the next deal with all of our rehab money back. And then we had 30% equity in this property, got a renter in there, cash flowed like $350 with pet fees. And overall, it was a good deal. I would never do that deal again because it sucked, but it was a great first deal.
How were you budgeting? Like if you had never done it, because that's something I forgot to talk about. So I can circle back, but how did you budget the rehab? Like, did you have
Yeah.
spreadsheets or like?
Yeah, we just made an Excel file and it literally was like, okay, we need to redo the kitchen. What's in a kitchen? A new vanity. What's a new vanity cost? $250. I mean, probably more than that. A new mirror, new lights, new outlets. And we literally line itemed everything we thought we needed. That was a really tough rehab to do too, because that was when, so this was, we bought it in February of 21. So lumber like tripled through the course of that project. So that also threw off our costs. I mean, wire was insanely expensive during that. And we rewired the whole house. So it was tough, but luckily we were only off by 13,000 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But in terms of percentage, it was like we were 30% off, or we went over our budget by 50%.
Right. But you learned so much. And now, and do you still have that property?
We still have the property, still has a renter in it.
Awesome. Love it. Did you learn any big lessons from that property?
Yeah, I mean, just double your rehab, double your timeline. I hate DIY. I hate painting. Yeah, lots of huge lessons within that. Also, just, at the end of the day, you got to get started and you're not really going to know what's going on, what you're doing. You can do what you can to mitigate the risks, but there's always going to be a little bit of risk. There's always going to be some unknowns, that you talked about some surprises. Oh, wait, no, that was past, but you have had surprises in your properties. Some surprises for that one was the extent of the termite damage. Probably had a lot of other surprises that I can't remember. But yeah, I remember at one point Brant came home one day and he was like, we should just sell it now and cut our losses. And I remember just thinking, okay, he's probably just being super dramatic because he's stressed out because he works on this shithole all day, every day. And it ended the way it ended. So that was awesome.
That's amazing. I'm like thinking back and I'm just so happy that I purchased the property that I shared about, the triplex, because one, it's amazing, but I learned so much. It was my first time ever managing a property myself. I did a lot, like most of the rehab myself. And I specifically remember sitting, I think I still have the notebooks that I wrote in, like a pen and paper type of person. So I wrote out, okay, apartment A, here's how many square foot it is. Here's what luxury vinyl plank costs. This is how much. Okay, so that means this is how much the floor is going to be. Okay, moving on to the bathroom. It needs a new vanity and it needs a new toilet. So here's how much those two things are. And just like going room by room like you did and just writing it out pen and paper. And I would say if you're nervous about like estimating rehab costs and all of that, like there's books you can read, but honestly, go for a cosmetic upgrade. Go for a house that
don't do what I did.
A full gut. Yeah, don't do a full gut. Do paint, do floor, and a couple fixtures, light fixtures, vanity, stuff like that.
That's the way to go. Amelia, now we talked about our first deals and what we were looking for. What would you say that your buy box is right now as you are continuing to buy real estate?
Yeah, so my buy box now is multifamily. I prefer like bigger than 4 units, but if a steal of a deal comes along on a duplex, I would be interested. So multifamily within an hour radius of Des Moines, Iowa. Cash flow needs to be $200 per door with a cash on cash return of at least 15%. And I really like rehab opportunities. So value add opportunity, I guess is what they call it.
So would you try to BRRRR?
Yeah, so BRRRR options, and by value add potential, I don't mean full guts. I'm not interested in doing major rehabs. I'm really more interested in forcing, appreciation through cosmetic upgrades.
Yeah. And also a lot of value add can come through just managing it right.
Exactly.
So that's a huge opportunity people don't realize.
Yep. Under market rent properties that just have a terrible property manager or a mom and pop manager that haven't raised rent in 100 years or whatever. Like those are the type of properties that I'm looking for. And then here and there, I'll dabble and like look around for some short-term rentals, but that's like a sub buy box. That's like not like
my
a back
burner buy
box. It's a back burner. And at this point, I feel like I have enough experience investing that I don't need just like one buy box that I'm only looking for that to get
Mhm.
started. Because I do think when you're getting started, it's important to like kind of narrow down and have like maybe 2 buy boxes that you're looking at, but you really need to be focusing on those 2. Like, don't
Right.
have shiny object syndrome. But what
Mhm.
about you? What's your buy box?
I would say right now, I would love to do another multifamily BRRRR, which we just finished up. We did 8 units, so probably less than 12 units, less than like probably 750K. Needs to be BRRRable because I would use private money for it. I would love, like you said, for it to be cosmetic and like property management value add. I don't really want to do a huge rehab. Also, absolutely no DIY. We're done with that. I have 2 locations, my current area of Cedar Rapids or Western Iowa. And if I'm going to BRRRR it, that means that the tenants have to be close to the end of their leases or be month to month. So that's an important piece of my buy box. So yeah, anything multifamily that's BRRRable, that's not a massive headache is what I'm looking for. And then for single family, like we still buy single family on the side. Like you said, I kind of know that. I know probably within 5 seconds of looking at the deal whether it's something worth looking into or not. But for that, if it's seller finance, so I have like a seller finance buy box as well because I do a lot of seller finance deals. It does not need to be BRRRable. It can be turnkey, but I want, 20% cash on cash or whatever, and I want it to cash flow at least $250. So those are kind of my 2 buy boxes right now. So just
I have a
doing
question
a lot of
about
looking.
Yeah, what would you consider these things cosmetic? Because these are pretty easy to hire out. Like a roof replacement, would you consider that like
See, that's like, okay, this is a long-winded answer, but like that, like replacing a water heater or like upgrading an AC condenser, those I don't think they're cosmetic, but they're super easy because you're not
no,
gonna do it.
right. I know. I don't, there's not like really a word for it,
Yeah.
but I almost group that in with
Straightforward.
like, yeah, like
It's like a very
yeah.
cut and dry, I'm looking at a house right now and it's turnkey except for the water heater and the condenser, which to me is pretty much turnkey because I need to line up 2 calls, maybe a couple quotes. Because
Right.
I'm not doing that.
No. Yeah, agreed. Those things to me are just so easy to find somebody to
So
do
it's like
that.
cosmetic plus straightforward.
Yeah, like the mechanicals, but
Yeah.
not that, but that doesn't include plumbing or electrical. I
That,
would say that starts to get into being more of a gut.
yes, agreed. Structural, plumbing, electrical, like replacing. I think that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
straightforward replacement. I'll
Yeah.
do those all day long.
Yeah.
I don't want to be moving walls anymore and opening up plumbing and electrical. Like I don't want to get into that. If it's a grand slam, sure. But that's not what I'm looking for anymore.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed walking through our very first properties. If you like this, let us know because I think we'd be happy to share like our future deals because I really enjoy getting to know like the ins and outs of each deal, not just like the surface level type of stuff. So
like a true deep dive.
Yeah. If you are looking to connect with us outside of the podcast, I am on Instagram, Amelia Jo REI, and Grace is also on there at grace.investing. And we will catch you in the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you loved today's episode, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to check us out and join our community at womeninvestinrealestate.com and follow us on Instagram at WIIRE with 2 eyes.community.